children, et cetera, et cetera. Those kinds of things. So, if you feel so inclined, go ahead over to the state of Texas's homepage and take a look at all those brave men and women who won't say earned, but were awarded the Lone Star Award for 2014. And thanks to them and their families for all they do and all their sacrifice. Now, talking about those kind of uniformed personnel, in Perry County, Pennsylvania, there's a county sheriff named Carl Nance, and some local county goons had started leaning on him to publish the names of his county inhabitants who hold concealed handgun licenses, and to give out all their personal information, despite the fact that that's actually against the law for them to do. It violates all kinds of privacy laws. So the sheriff, who upholds the Second Amendment, upholds the actual concealed carry law, has basically told them to go pound sand. And in telling them to pound sand, the county is filing a lawsuit against him, trying to force him to do what he thinks what is illegal and unconstitutional. So a bunch of local inhabitants have come together and given some words of encouragement, backing their duly elected, overwhelmingly elected, constitutional conservative county sheriff, Carl Nance. And we have some of the clips here, some of the statements of support. Give a listen.
I think it's another issue where people just have the feeling that Big Brother's watching, and this is just another case. And, we don't want any parts of that.
I think he has the right idea. I definitely think it's an invasion of our privacy, and we have the right to carry our concealed weapons if they are registered, and that's the way it should be. That's the law.
Well, the support from the county residents is just outstanding, and they're selling shirts in support of me, and it's just I can't believe the amount of people that's upset with this.
Yeah, so there you have some audio out of out of Perry County, Pennsylvania, in support of County Sheriff Carl Nance. If you head over to BuzzPo, I want to say it's Eric Reed has the full story. Let me check to make sure I have the author correctly, because I don't want to give credit where credit isn't due. Because Eric Reed puts out such great articles, and so does Steve Ale. And yep, I was correct. It was Eric Reed. So go ahead and take a look at that. Now, talking about other uniformed personnel, similar ilk of the law enforcement colors, the boys in blue, so to speak. I got to hand it to one of our newer contributors over at BuzzPo, Taylor Millard. I wasn't going to write this up because I thought it was too much of a local issue, and then I was considering just doing a rant on it. And he went ahead and wrote it up, and I didn't even notice. Wrote it up yesterday anyway, over at BuzzPo, talking about good old communist in chief. That's police chief. That's stormtrooper thug SS Chief McManus of San Antonio has said that first of all, in San Antonio, panhandling is illegal. You know, somebody's sitting there in a street corner with a cardboard sign saying, we'll work for food, please give me money for food, whatever. Begging for money. It's illegal. And I can buy that. I can see how it's illegal, especially since usually they're not paying any taxes or filing 1099s on it or anything. So it's illegal. Well, what McManus wants to do is start establishing a fine for any motorist. Yes, he's specifically saying people driving in a car who give money to the panhandlers. Now, if you're pedestrian, I guess they're not going to do a dang thing. But if you're driving in your car and you toss money out to the panhandlers or hand them out to the window, hand them a couple of bucks or whatever, the police are now going to pull you over. Well, this is what he's suggesting anyway. Is that the police pull over the driver and fine the driver for giving to panhandlers. Because panhandling is illegal. Think about that. He is going to fine you for deciding what to do with your money. It's not like you're buying drugs. It's not like you're, hiring an assassin. It's not like you're doing something illegal with your money. It's your money. You can do with it what you want. If you didn't want to give it directly to a panhandler, that's fine. They can't fine you if you decide to crumple it up in a ball and just throw it out the window, and if the panhandler ran over and grabbed it, well, he's the one that found it, because he didn't put it directly in his hand. So there's a question of how are you going to enforce that when you can say, hey, I just crumpled up and threw it up because it's my money, I could throw it away. The panhandler is the one who picked it up. That's lucky for him. So, that part makes it kind of unenforceable anyway. But, yeah, they're not going to go after fining the panhandlers. They're going to fine the motorists. Now, folks, some of these panhandlers bring home $400, up to $400 a day. There's one guy who went and was doing this that I heard talk about. He would make $400. He would just do it on the weekends when the tourists were in town. Do it on like Friday night through sometime on Sunday, and then he would go to church on Sunday, and then go back doing a little bit after church, and then went back doing whatever else he would do during the week. But claimed to be homeless, or maybe he really was homeless and he had a part-time job, and he did this on the weekends when he wasn't working at whatever job he was working. Not sure the entire story there, but I know the guy brought home $800 a weekend, $400 a day. So $800 in 2 days worth of work, 4 weekends a month. That's $3,200 a month, folks. How many of you make $3,200 a month after taxes? Because mind you, they don't pay taxes on that stuff. But yet they're going to find the people who are dumb enough to hand their money out. You're giving a charity. Not seeing how that's a bad thing, folks. But that's in San Antonio. It does not make any sense. And they sit there and say, yeah, the panhandlers don't have any money. If they know where to sit, they do. If they're making $400 a day, or if it's $400 a weekend, $200 a day, you fine them $200, take their entire day's worth of scam money, because that's what it is, away from them. Well, yeah, eventually they're going to stop. The thing is, you have to actually fine them. You have to actually take them to court, and that's the thing. Instead of enforcing this on the panhandlers themselves, they're trying to enforce it on those who are giving the charity. And by the way, you can be fined even if you give them food. You hand somebody a PB&J sandwich instead of $1, you can get fined as well. And they're talking about the fine being $200 for giving alms, so to speak. Now, I'm going to propose a counter proposal to McManus. Why not alter the panhandling laws? Make them be licensed. Make them go and register themselves and license themselves as street performers. Give them certain areas that they're allowed to. They're designated street performance areas where they can go and do their begging or whatever they're going to do. And then If people walk by or drive by and hand them a couple bucks, that's fine. But if you see somebody taking the money and you walk up and you say, hey, I need you to see your license, and they don't have one, well, then you can't say operating without a license. So that would be another fine you can give them. But then you can say that they're also doing such fraudulently. Because if you're a street performer, okay, people are paying you for entertaining them with your sob story lie. Or your real sob story, if it is a true sob story. On the flip side, if you're sitting there giving the sob story and it happens to be not true, to top it off, and the motorist gives you money, well then you're committing a fraud because you're not a licensed entertainer. So that would be the answer to that. Then the flip side is you're not only getting the registration fee when they have to go and register and get their license as a licensed street performer / panhandler, but they also have to fill out their little 1099s and stuff and actually pay their federal and whatever local taxes there may be. Now, here, there's no income tax, but there are other taxes, property taxes, blah, 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 sales tax. So, and entertainment tax. So there you go. They have to cough up the entertainment tax. Somebody gives them $1, that includes the entertainment tax. So they get to keep 85 cents, give 15 cents to the city. And what can that be used for? That can be used for helping the police chase after the real crimes. The hardcore drug dealers, the gangs, the murderers, the rapists. And, speaking about rapists, folks, I'm changing gears. And street performance, or performance art, over at Colombia University, there's a student who's I think she's in the art program. Good luck to her in her future career. Wonder what kind of job she's going to be able to get. But she's doing, for part of her one of her grades, and also for a bit of political activism, she's doing a performance art where she carries her mattress from her dorm room around with her wherever she goes. Why? Because the first day of her sophomore year, she was minding her own business, sitting in her own dorm room, studying, reading books, looking at TV, whatever the case might be, when somebody burst into her dorm room and raped her. She was not at a club dressed like a hoochie mama. She wasn't walking around wearing underwear and calling it, or wearing dental floss and calling it a bathing suit around campus. She wasn't doing any of those things that so many idiots use to point as reasons why the victim was victimized because of their own bad choice. Blah, blah, blah. Stuff. Sorry. No, there's none of that obfuscation bullcrap involved. Okay, because it's not an excuse, folks. Yeah, you can sit there and say, hey, she's dressed really sexy. She must be looking for something. Okay, yeah, she's a little promiscuous. She needs to put a towel on or what have you. And maybe she shouldn't dress that way because she's drawing attention. But just because she draws your attention doesn't give you the right to touch her. Sorry. There is such thing as being a gentleman. There's such thing as being a lady. But just because somebody isn't being a lady does not give you an excuse not to be a gentleman unless you're defending yourself because she tries to hit you or something in an unladylike fashion. Anyway, she was minding her own business, and she was raped. So now she's walking around Columbia University carrying her mattress to do a performance art to bring awareness to the fact that Columbia and some of the other nearby colleges have really poor policies when it comes to the whole, what they call rape culture. I don't believe in rape culture, folks. It's rape or it's not rape. There's no culture involved in it. It's like a murder culture. Okay, you want a murder culture? If you believe in that, yeah, it's all over the place on the continent of Africa. It's all over the place in the Middle East. But I wouldn't call it a, violent, the violence culture. I'd call it a culture that embraces violence. Rape in our culture, in our country, in our way of life, rape is wrong, period. Women are not pieces of furniture, so to speak. So she's walking around bringing awareness to the fact that in these college campuses that rape investigations are just not done properly, and that her rapist has not yet been brought to justice. And on the flip side, there's been plenty of people who've been falsely accused, or whatever they did was exaggerated from a unwanted kiss suddenly becomes to forcible sodomy or some crap. And so it's on the flip side as well, because then these poor guys are then overly prosecuted for being drunk and misreading a sign and leaning over and trying to give a girl a kiss, and all of a sudden it gets blown out of proportion. They did something a heck of a lot more. So the investigations are being improperly run, and relatively innocent people are being overly persecuted and prosecuted and sentenced and punished. And then, in a lot of cases, the actual guilty are getting away with it. My answer, folks, is allow carry on campus for those who can have a concealed carry permit. That would be my answer, because then some jackass busts into my daughter's dorm room and they're carrying them out to a corner. But anyway, on the flip side, real quick, because we're coming to the end of the show already, folks, and if you haven't called in yet, you have about a minute to do so. Our number is 520-226-8567. But talking again about police officers, there's a school in California that the school district police, go armed to protect children. Well, the NAACP doesn't want them to be carrying firearms to protect your children from bad people who don't care about the laws and are carrying firearms in a gun-free zone anyway. So there's that little bit of illogic over there, over at also at BuzzPo, to go ahead and read up on that article and watch the video that's attached to it, just as well as watch the what video attached to the story on the Colombia student who's carrying her mattress around. Well, that brings us to the end of the day today. We've talked about our uniformed personnel, and from different angles, talked about both military and our police, fire, first responders. I was hoping to get to a little bit more about Common Core, but I think I beat that horse into glue yesterday again. And if you haven't, go ahead and read the write-up I gave on the podcast page over at my blog spot for Mental Keto. I kind of gave my 2 cents on education and knocking teachers and principals off their high horse because they think they're your partners. They're not. They're your employees. Anyway, folks, that brings us to the end of the show. And we'll be right back here tomorrow to end up the week, finalize the week. And we'll talk with you then. Hopefully, you'll call in. Because I've been waiting for callers. Had our first one yesterday, but waiting for better. You all have a great day and finish up the week strong. And we'll see you back here tomorrow morning to bring it to a close. All right? See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.